Hi friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Reagan and today we're going to be talking all about some spring and summer book recommendations. So I've been wanting to do this video for a while and I know that it's not quite summer yet, but a lot of these books I feel like could go in the spring or summer category, and also I am someone who lives in the South, so summer is going to be here before I know it. I'm also going to be including a bunch of different genres, so hopefully there is something in here for everyone. With all that being said, let's just get on into this recommendations video. This is my first recommendations video on this channel, so if you guys hate it, let me know, but let me know gently, okay? Because I am fragile, so give it to me gently. If you guys love it, let me know and maybe I'll do this again. So let's get on into it and let's start out with some fantasy books. I won't lie, fantasy is a little bit harder for me in terms of the spring and summer months and genre because I feel like I always associate fantasy with like fall and winter weather. I don't know why, maybe that's just a me thing, but for some reason I associate those things together, so it was a little bit hard for me to find some good true spring and summer recommendations, but I have 3 here to show you. Let's get started with the first fantasy book, and this is actually part of a trilogy because I feel like a trilogy is good for the spring or summer because it's not a huge commitment, but you still get enough of a commitment to like binge read it and to fall in love with the characters and to be in this world for a while. My recommendation for the first book is A Darker Shade of Magic by V. Schwab. I know that this is so old, this is not a new recommendation, but I feel like I never talked about it enough and I want to include it more, and I just still think about the series. It's been absolute years since I first read this, but I still think about it, and I think it's a really fun like spring summer transitional book. In this fantasy trilogy we have parallel Londons. So we have Red London, White London, Black London, and Grey London. Grey London has no magic, it's really boring, it's very dull. Red London does possess magic and like it's very highly thought of there. White London has a very big magical war happening, so it's very like desolate, it's very diluted, there's like not much happening there. And then we have Black London, who no one ever talks about and it's not ever mentioned because it's kind of just fallen off the tracks of this history. This is where our main character Kel comes in. He is a traveler, so he is able to pass between the different Londons, and he's like one of the last magicians to be able to do this, and so because of this he is a smuggler and he gets this quest where he needs to go find this piece of a token within Black London. So a lot unfolds from there. There's the element of found family, there's the element of like a heist. It is very engaging, it's very fun, you fall in love with the characters. The magic system is super unique, and also learning about the different parallel Londons I feel like it's just so different and fun, and I feel like it's a really good spring-ish summer recommendation. And like I said, it's only 3 books. Also, I just love anything that V.E. Schwab writes, so this is my first recommendation. All right, and then I have a little bit of like a smaller series. So this fantasy romance series is pretty spicy, so if that's your jam, look no further. Also, it is on Kindle Unlimited, and this author is like somewhat popular, so if you've read this, I'm sorry, but I wanted to include it anyway, and that is A Kingdom of Stars and Shadows by Holly Renee. So this is the first book in the series. I don't know if the series is finished or if it's still continuing, don't hold me on that, but this is the first book in the series and it's super short. I also read this in the summer. I read this last summer and flew through it. I had so much fun. It instantly grips your attention and I love the characters. I don't want to give you too much of a synopsis just because it is so small, but just know that the tagline says, "Betray a kingdom or betray my heart." It's definitely a forbidden love, it's definitely enemies to lovers. It's got all of those good vibes and tropes, and it was just a fun time. Also, I saved the best fantasy romance recommendation for last, and you guys can probably already guess what I'm going to say because I haven't shut up about this book since I started my channel like over a year ago, and when I read this book, and I am just absolutely obsessed with it. It consumes my every waking thought, very bingeable, very fast paced, instantly grips you, the characters are great, and that is none other than The Servant and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. Also, this is only a duology, so there's only 2 books, but this is just absolutely fantastic. This also involves vampires with wings. Let me point that out. The wings are very important because I love a 500-year-old vampire with wings man, okay? So this book follows Araya, and she is the human adopted daughter of this vampire king, and she really struggles with this for a lot of her life because she really doesn't feel like she fits in. So she decides to enlist herself in the Kajari, which is this really dangerous competition competition because she feels like if she wins, it kind of proves her worth to her father in the kingdom. And through this tournament, she is then forced to have an allegiance with Rain, who is a vampire. Obviously, this gives me Hunger Games, but with vampires. And yes, that's how I pitch it to people, but it is so much more than that. It has so much more depth. But definitely read it if you haven't yet, because I feel like you just won't regret it. It's just fantastic. All right, and the next genre that we're going to talk about is thrillers, because I feel like summer is the best time to read a thriller, especially for me. I love to sit by the pool and read a good thriller. It is just, I love nothing more. So I brought a few of my favorites here for some recommendations. My first recommendation is one of my favorite thrillers of all time and deserves all the hype. I'm sure that you guys have also heard about this book, so again, sorry about that, but I wanted to mention it still, and that is A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. This is just absolutely phenomenal. It's also her debut. She now has 2 new releases after this, but this is her debut, and I just cannot believe that it is a debut novel. It is that good. It's set in a small town in Louisiana. We have Chloe, and when she was 12, 6 girls went missing during the summer, and at the end of the summer, her dad actually confessed to the murders of these 6 girls, and she's obviously distraught. She's like, doesn't know what's going on. She comes back years and years and years later, and she thinks that she's in the clear. She's planning a wedding until more girls go missing, and they all go missing in the same manner as they did the first time. So she is just so confused because her dad's in jail, obviously, so she's trying to figure out what's going on in this small town, and this book is just absolutely amazing. Obviously gave it 5 stars. Definitely recommend this one as well for the spring and summertime. Another thriller that I have is a domestic thriller, and you guys have also probably heard of this author before because I know that she's really popular. I haven't read any of her other books, but I have read this one obviously, and I absolutely loved it, and that is A Stranger in the House by Shari Lapena. Just such a fun and short thriller. I really had the time of my life with this. I actually still think about this thriller. I don't know why, but it just really, I guess, made an impact on my reading life. I don't know. It is just really, really good. We have our main character, Karen, who is at home one day. She gets a weird phone call. When she answers it, she leaves the door and doesn't come back for hours and hours, has no explanation as to where she went or what she was doing. And when she gets home, she tells her husband that she forgot everything. Basically, she has amnesia. The police don't really believe her. Her husband doesn't really believe her. And then Karen finds a bunch of things in her house are being moved around. Things are being taken from one place to another. It's very creepy. She doesn't know what's going on. She wants to get to the bottom of it. And that is where our story unfolds. I really did not see the plot twist in this book coming. I don't know if that was just me, but I had a really fun time with this, and also I feel like it's short, fun, it's gripping, it's a domestic thriller, so I feel like this is perfect for like the summertime. Love a good thriller like this. Love a good domestic thriller. Alright, and my last thriller recommendation is just a fun one, who I also know that this author has a ton of other books that are published, but again, this is the only one that I've read by her, and that is The Last Houseguest by Megan Miranda. This is set on a small town in Maine, so it's like a seaside coastal town. I absolutely love the setting. The atmosphere in this book is one of the best. It is so good for the spring and summertime. We have our main character Avery, who actually had a big incident happen when she was younger in this town where her friend was found dead, okay? And no one knew what happened to her. No one could really explain it, so the police ended up labeling it as like a self-inflicted type of killing, if you know what I mean. And Avery just really didn't like that. She didn't think that sat right. She didn't feel like Sadie would ever do that. So when she finds herself back in this town, some things kind of pop up, and she wants to really get to the bottom of Sadie's death. And so she goes on this hunt to try and figure out what really happened to her. Lots of things unfold. I love the plot twists in this book. I really did not see them coming again. Maybe that was just me, but I just had the time of my life with this one. This one was really great, and also, like I said, the atmosphere is one of the best in the thrillers for the spring and summertime. Okay. Next up, we have romance, which I feel is the quintessential spring and summer genre, okay? I love me a good spring and summer romance. I have a lot that I could say for this, but I really tried to narrow it down. Now, I will say that I have 2 recommendations that are obvious ones for me, and I'm gonna quickly mention them, but they're not ones that I am including in my 3 list because I don't know, I wanted to like try and diversify the recommendations. So my big obvious one, obviously Emily Henry. So anything that Emily Henry writes. My personal favorite is People We Meet on Vacation. Any of hers will do. She is like quintessential spring and summer author for me. My other one is the Magnolia Parks universe. I feel like that is just peak summertime because you don't have to think too hard. It is Gossip Girl vibes, it's high society, it's drama, it plays out like a reality TV show, which I feel like is perfect for when you're on vacation or sitting by the pool or doing all these different things, and it is just absolutely fantastic. So obviously Emily Henry and Magnolia Parks are top of the list. But other than that, I do want to mention one of my favorite romances probably ever, and that is Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. This is a closed door romance. So if you are familiar with the closed door romance space, you probably already know Sarah Adams, but Practice Makes Perfect specifically is just peak spring vibes, okay? This is one of the best spring/summer romances. It is just, I have nothing bad to say about it. I have no notes, okay? This is also a small town, and the first book technically is When in Rome. I didn't read When in Rome first, and I still had a really fun time with this, but we do have Annie, and she is very like reserved. She's kind of awkward. She is not good at dating, and so because of this, she really wants to settle down and really find someone, but because she feels awkward and doesn't know how to like flirt or date, she enlists the help of Will Griffin, who is Amelia's bodyguard in When in Rome. So he is a sexy tattooed bodyguard, okay? And Annie's living the life because one, Annie is like my soul character. I have never had a character that I related to more. Okay, she gets me on a level that no one else does. And also two, sexy tattooed bodyguard. Like, are you kidding me? That's everything I would want and more, okay? So she's really living the dream. And he helps her out to try and get her to flirt better, to date better. And then obviously they fall in love. But it is just absolutely fantastic. Annie owns a flower shop. Like I said, you're in this small town. All of the characters are really charming. The romance is just absolutely fantastic and just peak spring vibes in my opinion. Another one of my favorite romances is not a super big rom-com, I would say, but I want to mention it nonetheless because if you guys like Normal People or Sally Rooney and that type of romance, then you absolutely need to read Adelaide by Genevieve Wheeler. I went on the absolute biggest rant when this book first came out because I read it like a little bit before it came out, absolutely was obsessed with it, made everyone read it that I know, and it is just one of the best romances because it is like if Normal People had a better ending. Okay, if you know, you know. And that's what this book kind of gives me. It's a very coming of age in your 20s, feeling lost in romance and just navigating that way of like two people that don't need to be together but find themselves gravitating towards one another. It's kind of what this gives me, okay? Also, the cover is really giving me spring. I don't know. I'm obsessed with this book. I'm obsessed with these characters and I need everyone to read it. Okay. That's all. My last romance recommendation is one that like literally everyone has been reading and obviously everyone knows about, but I feel like it's so good for the spring and summer, and that is all of the volumes of Heartstopper. So this follows Nick and Charlie as they navigate their relationship and how hard it can be in high school and how hard it can be for kids in high school to come out to themselves and peers and family and all these kind of things, and just them navigating that space and working through it together. It is so wholesome. It is so fantastic. It's so joyful, and I feel like that's why I recommend it for spring and summer, because spring and summer just bring so many joyful feelings to me personally, and I feel like this just really amps that up and really gives you a sweet, wholesome, joyful feeling. Majority of you have probably already either heard of this or have already read it, but nonetheless I wanted to add it to the list because I feel like a graphic novel every once in a while is such a good palate cleanser. It's such a good way to get yourself out of a slump and just to feel some joyful, wholesome feelings, okay? Alrighty, our last genre of this recommendations video is literary fiction. This is a genre that I don't 100% read from often, but when I do, I find a really, really good gem, and I hold on to it for dear life because I love these books so much. They mean the world to me, and I do love the literary fiction genre whenever I do find a good gem like that. So the first recommendation that I have for you guys is The Paper Palace by Miranda Cowley Heller. I feel like that's how you say her name. Anyways, first of all, obsessed with this cover. Okay, it's giving spring and summer. Also, if you loved Where the Crawdads Sing, like if you really like those vibes, you will love this book. It kind of gives me the same vibes, the same feeling. I don't want to reveal too much about this book, but I will say that it is dual timeline between an incident that happens within 24 hours and also the timeline of about like 50 years. It is a dual timeline in that way. It's also like a generational story. It's a family drama. There are decades of family legacies, love, lies, secrets, and one unspeakable incident from her childhood that leads Elle to the precipice of a life-changing decision. It's just so good. If you love generational stories, if you love found family, if you love family drama, if you love, like I said, the vibes of Where the Crawdads Sing, you need to read this book. It is so heartbreaking, but it is so well written. I love this book so much. I read it, gosh, I want to say like 2020 or early 2021, and I still think about it, okay? I love this book. I never see anybody talk about it enough, and if you like literary fiction or you want to try it out, this is such a good book. Pick this one up if any of those things sound right up your alley, because I just love this book. It is so good. I'm leaving one of the best for last, okay? Because I read this book years ago now, and I literally still talk about it. This is another one that I still force down my friends' throats because it was so unexpected for me, okay? I picked this book up, not really thinking much of it, absolutely changed my life, changed my outlook. I absolutely fell in love with the characters. I fell in love with their lives, with their timelines, with what was going on, and all these things that they were experiencing. And that is just none other than Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I do love a good family drama, okay? Generational timeline, family drama. We have another dual timeline. So we have present day California, and we have Eleanor, who, when she dies, she leaves an inheritance to her 2 children, which is this Caribbean tradition called Black Cake, and she also leaves them voice recordings. So these 2 siblings are very apprehensive about listening to these voice recordings. They are kind of estranged. They haven't really talked to each other in a long time, and they start to piece together their mom's true history about what was happening in her life, because their mom had a lot of secrets that they never found out about and a lot of history that they never knew, and so they end up piecing all that together, and it is just absolutely fantastic. It is so enriching. Take that recommendation and do with that what you will. Obviously, I have so many more recommendations that I could have included in this list, but I wanted to kind of keep it short and sweet and just give you a few per genre just to kind of get your spring and summer kick-started. So I also want to thank you guys for being on this channel and for being so supportive of me. You guys are the best. I'm not even kidding. You guys are literally the best. You guys always send me the sweetest messages or leave the sweetest comments. So for that, I am forever thankful. I really hope that you guys enjoyed today's video, and I hope that you guys stick around if you're new here. All that being said, I do hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. I will leave my Goodreads and Instagram link down below so that we can be friends, and I hope that I will catch you guys in the next video. Okay, bye.